Hello and welcome to Threefold Herbal Healing. I'm Herbalist Liho. I help people who are struggling with chronic conditions grow their health from the roots up. Like many other women, I was part of the diet culture for decades, fighting to reduce my body fat. However, recently I learned from Dr. Robert Lustig, medical doctor, that not all fats are created equal. Some fats play important roles in our body, while others are red flag, indicating sustained underlying inflammation and reducing your lifespan. So, how would you know if the fat in your body is beneficial and good for you, or if it's inflammatory fat that can lead to health issues? Let's dive right in. Fats or adipose are the body's most efficient way to store energy. In the energy exchange market in the body, every gram of carbohydrates or protein worth about 4 calories, but a gram of fat is worth 9 calories. Historically, humans relied on storing energy from when food was abundant to lean time. In the summer and fall, when nature provides plenty of greens and root and berries, people would gorge on them, gain weight, and that's what would sustain them during the cold months of winter when there was not such an abundance of food. Human physiology hasn't changed much. But since the Industrial Revolution, most of us can open the refrigerator or visit the local supermarket and have access to a wide variety of food in large quantities that our ancestors could never even imagine or dream about. Our brain, though, is still anticipating a famine, and it tends to convince us that food might be in short supply. Therefore, it might be a good idea to finish from our plate, even if we are not hungry anymore, or take every opportunity to stock on food. Fat tissue is not just passive energy storage. It is important in insulating your organs and keeping you warm. Also, fat plays an active role in the endocrine system. It secretes and regulates hormones such as leptin, insulin, cortisol, and estrogen. So, fat is important, it's beneficial, it's not the bad guy. When you consume more calories than your body expends, glucose is distributed in the body for storage. About 85% of the excess energy that you consume will be stored in muscle tissues. 10% will be stored in the liver and 5% in fat tissues. When you consistently consume more calories than you expend, your fat tissue will need to accommodate all that excess calories. Fat cells are very elastic. They can expand to up to 4 times of their normal volume. That's a lot of flexibility. Once a fat cell reaches its full capacity, it will create a new fat cell. This is important because once a fat cell is formed, is created, you can't get rid of it. Reducing caloric intake can decrease the amount of fat in your fat cells, but not the total number of fat cells in your body. So the number of fat cells in your body can always increase, but it can never decrease. Fat cells contain small pockets that hold the fat within them. When more fat arrives in the cell, they are stored in those pockets surrounded by a tissue like a membrane around them. When the amount of fat inside this membrane exceeds the capacity, the membrane will burst and the grease will leak into the cell, leading to cell death. When a cell dies in your body, the immune system rushes to clean up. Macrophages are a type of immune cells that gobbles on dead cells. But what happens when macrophages gobble on dead cells is that they release cytokines. Cytokines are a type of immune mailman that send messages about the damage to tissue in the body and bring in cleaning and rebuilding processes, which are inflammatory processes. While all fat cells secrete pro-inflammatory cytokines, the amount of fat and where those cytokines enter the bloodstreams make a huge difference in your well-being and lifespan. So there are three different types of fat tissue, and it matters what kind of fat tissue you have in your body. The first one we are going to talk about is subcutaneous fat. Subcutaneous fat is the fat that is located under your skin, the one that you can actually pinch. The body produces subcutaneous fat when you eat more calories than you expend. In the right amount, subcutaneous fat keeps your vital organs warm and protected. It stores excess energy for lean time, and it plays a crucial role in hormone regulation. So that's good. When subcutaneous fat cells reach their capacity, they leak their content into the blood circulation. So they leak their content into the systemic blood circulation. That's the total amount of blood in your body. Since your body contains about 6 liters of blood, the concentration of toxic fats from subcutaneous fats is relatively low. You need to gain about 22 pounds over your normal weight before the concentration of cytokines released from your subcutaneous fat tissue becomes high enough in the blood circulation to cause sustained systemic inflammation. Excuse me. Visceral fat. Visceral fat is the fat tissue stored around your waist, behind your abdominal muscle cavity, around vital organs like the pancreas, the liver, and the intestines. It is produced as a response to stress or chronic high levels of cortisol. Cytokines from visceral fat tissue don't empty into the systemic bloodstream. Instead, they are emptied into the portal vein, so they are directly shuttled into the liver, and that results in high concentration of cytokines in the liver. Therefore, you need to gain only about 5 pounds around your abdomen before the cytokine from your visceral fat tissue are too high and create an inflammatory disease. Inflammation can easily contribute to visceral fat formation by promoting insulin resistance and increasing stress overload. So what's happening is really a vicious cycle. Visceral fat produces inflammatory cytokine that activates stress response, potentially leading to increasing cortisol production and, again, causing visceral fat. Stress is a huge factor in visceral fat formation because cortisol promotes fat storage in the abdominal region. Visceral fat cells have more cortisol receptors, so they are more sensitive to cortisol, making them more responsive to elevated cortisol levels. Chronic cortisol elevation disrupts metabolic processes, leading to insulin resistance, and they also change where you deposit your fat. This is why people who struggle with chronic stress tend to gain weight, specifically around the abdomen. The combination of stress, elevated cortisol, and visceral fat accumulation creates a whole body endocrine crisis. including immune dysregulation, psychological distress, and metabolic disease, all feeding one into another. So it just gets worse and worse and worse. Visceral fat reduces the body's sensitivity to leptin, and leptin is the hormone that makes you feel full, satiated. At the same time, visceral fat inhibits insulin production. So what you have is poor sugar metabolism and increased food consumption, which eventually lead to obesity and type 2 diabetes. Signals from visceral fat can alter mitochondrial function in tissues all over your body, which means that all your metabolic processes in the body are going to be sluggish, damaged. If you're a woman with a waist circumferences higher than 35, or you're a man with a waist circumferences higher than 40, then you have excess fat deposit in your abdomen. Excess abdominal fat is associated with metabolic syndrome or prediabetes. It's just another name. Fatty liver, fat in your liver, non-alcoholic fatty syndrome is very famous. The liver plays an important role in storing glucose. Between meal, when you need to function, or when you fast, or when you exercise, the liver releases glucose into the bloodstream so you have energy to function. In a healthy metabolism, only 5 to 10% of glucose is stored in liver cells. A healthy liver weighs about 3 pounds and can hold about half a pound of fats before it becomes metabolically ill. Fatty deposits in the liver can result from either excessive alcohol consumption or excessive sugar intake. When you consume excess calories, the liver converts them into triglyceride. Those triglycerides should be exported from the liver to fat tissue storage all over the body. The process, though, requires choline, a critical cofactor for that shuttling of triglyceride outside of the liver. Now, if your choline level remains the same, but you eat chronically, you consume more food than you need, you have too many triglycerides that the liver is trying to shuttle out of the liver. There are not enough choline there to shuttle all those triglycerides. And they stay in the liver. The liver starts to accumulate that extra triglyceride, and then you develop this fatty liver. Fat accumulation in the liver creates lipotoxicity because this fat releases toxins. It's a harmful buildup of lipid toxins that bind to insulin receptors and either partially or fully block the insulin signals, prompting insulin resistance. When the body stops responding to insulin, the liver will release more and more sugar into the blood, and at the same time deposit more fat in liver cells, leading again to non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So it again can become some kind of a cycle where fatty liver, too many fats in the liver, cause insulin resistance that leads to more sugar in the blood, more fats deposited in the liver, and it's just a cycle that perpetuates itself. Fatty liver disease is associated with type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and reduced life quality and lifespan of millions of people in America. Now, your subcutaneous fat doesn't look bad, doesn't look good in the mirror. It's not fun. The fat in your liver is the most detrimental to your health. Since the liver plays such an important role in metabolism, a fatty liver causes disruption immediately. So subcutaneous fat makes you feel about yourself when you look in the mirror. But the one who is really compromising your health is the fatty liver and the visceral fat. Reducing sugar intake, especially fructose and alcohol, can help reverse fatty liver disease if done before the liver develop irreversible damage. Once the liver cells themselves are damaged, it's very hard to fix it. Reducing stress can help reduce inflammation generated by the visceral fat. If you reduce sugar and alcohol consumption and manage your stress, there is a good chance that you can reduce your fatty liver and your visceral fat. And then there is a good chance that subcutaneous fat will follow through too. One of the most damaging substances for the liver that promote non-alcoholic fatty liver is high fructose corn syrup. Food companies try to sell it to us as food, but high fructose corn syrup is a no food. It is actually a toxin. I'm going to dedicate next week to high fructose corn syrup because it's really the foundation of what create fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver syndrome. Thank you for taking the time to watch this. I hope it was helpful. I hope you benefited. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. I will be happy to answer them. And if you have a topic that you would like me to cover, I would love to do that. Have a great week and see you next week. Everything you need to know about high fructose corn syrup. Bye.